Hello, my name is Cooper Lewis, and I will be doing this digital presentation on whether or not to buy or lease a car. Now the decision to buy or lease a car is one of the most difficult financial problems a person would ever faces in his lifetime, as it involves a lot of economic factors, much more than just monthly payments, including interest rates, depreciation, and things like these. And so, because this is such a difficult decision, there are many strong conflicting opinions. For example, Suze Orman from Yahoo Finance says that leases are a drug for status-conscious people. And that reflects sort of like the traditional view of leasing a car, because the traditional view holds that you need to own something for it to be really worth it, and that if you lease it, that means you're being cheated out of money and you just want the newest, flashiest thing. However, that might not be true, which is reflected by Jessica L. Anderson saying you can save money by leasing. And I sort of agree with Jessica, and I will try to prove to you that leasing can be economically beneficial. And I will do this by conducting a case study of the 2015 Hyundai Sonata. And this will be done by finding costs associated with leasing and buying. And we'll not just add costs together, but we'll actually calculate the net present value. And this net present value, although often neglected in these kind of analyses, will incorporate time value of money. And this is important because money in the future does in fact cost less in the future than it does in the present. And this can be quantified by analyzing the opportunity cost of money. For instance, instead of spending the money, you could invest it in a bank and put it in a savings account and have it accrue interest, or you could perhaps pay off credit card debt. And so this net present value calculation will translate future values into present values. And of course, we have the equation for NPV of a single payment, which is f over 1 plus I to the n, where f is the future value or payment, I is the interest rate, and n is the amount of time in the future. And as you can see, as n increases, the NPV decreases. We also have the NPV of an annuity, which is a recurring payment at equal intervals, which also makes the calculation easier. And for the interest rate, we will use 16%, as that is a common interest rate for credit cards. Also, our time horizon will be 6 years because that's the average amount of time a person usually owns a new car. And leasing, buying, and also lease to own, as at the end of the lease period, you have the option to actually buy the car, will all be analyzed. And for leasing, the lease agreement details are taken from nationally advertised loans found at the link provided. And the main costs include the amount due at signing, which is not the exact same thing as the down payment, and that amounts to $18.99, which includes the first month's payment, as well as basically paying for upfront for some of the depreciation of the car. Also, the monthly payment is $199. The disposition value is $400, which basically compensates the lessor for disposing of the vehicle. There's also an excess mileage fee of 20 cents per mile over 12,000 miles per year, which basically compensates the lessor for the added depreciation from driving it a lot. And we will assume the driver drives about 15,000 miles per year, which is pretty average. And also the length of the loan is 36 months. And so to get to the time horizon of 6 years, we'll basically assume that at the end of 3 years, the driver signs another 3-year lease for basically the same details. So here we see a cash flow diagram for leasing. And at the beginning, you see a big cost, which includes the amount due at signing. Then for 3 years you pay the constant monthly payment of $199, although that's a little more including Arizona tax. Then at the 36 months, you have to pay for the disposition value, the excess mileage fee, and also sign a new lease. So that's why you have a huge jump in cost at the end of the 3 years. Then for 3 more years, you pay the same monthly payment, and at the end, you again have to pay the disposition value and the excess mileage fee. Now for buying, we will assume that the driver buys the car for the MSRP, which is the manufacturer's suggested retail price, for $21,150. We'll assume that the loan is 5 years at 3% interest, which is again pretty average. And so at the beginning of the so when you buy it, you first had to pay the down payment, which we assumed was about $3,000, and pay the monthly loan payment for 5 years. Then at the end of 6 years, you sell the car for a residual value of $3,595. And that includes some of the benefits of buying, as you actually own the car and thus have the value for yourself. And then finally, lease to own. So basically, you lease the car for 36 months under the lease agreement described earlier, but then you decide to buy the car. And for this lease, the agreed upon value at the end of 3 years was about $13,000. So at the end of the 36 months, you have to pay the excess mileage fee, as well as start doing loan payments for about $421.44. Then again, you sell the car at the end of 6 years for that $35.95. And so after doing the calculations, here are the results. And first we just summed up all the costs. And after doing that, buying was a clear winner, as it was cheaper than both the other options. And this confirms the results of other similar analyses, and most of them say that buying is cheapest. And this is why, because if you just add up the costs, then buying is almost always cheapest. However, if we do the net present value calculations, then buying does much worse, as much less is delayed into the future, as the costs up front, such as the down payment as well as the monthly payments, are much higher than leasing. And so on a net present value basis, leasing is a much better option. And in fact, in this case, the lease to own option was actually the cheapest from the net present value angle. So then that brings us to our recommendations. Basically, you should consider buying if you plan to drive a lot, because the excess mileage fee will get pretty substantial. Or if you have a pretty low discount rate. For instance, if you don't have high credit card debt, or have access to a reasonably high interest savings account. However, you should probably consider leasing if perhaps you don't plan on driving too much, or have a relatively high discount rate. Like perhaps you have a high interest credit card. So based on this information, hopefully I have helped you make the decision between buying or leasing a car. Thanks for watching.